the murk and mystery. 100 million years ago, from the depths of unknown waters, comes a podcast to confound science and terrorize the world. The podcast from the Lagoon.
Ladies and ducklings, this is the Jack Lagoon. I am Jack from the Jack Lagoon. I've been mulling over how I want these opening bits to go. I know this is how every monologue... I want to be careful with the word monologue. I know this is how every opening bit starts. It's, I don't know, what the fuck's... What am I doing? What am I doing with this? But what I truthfully feel about these are that I want them to be... There's enough filler content. There's enough goofy content on the internet. Everybody is doing silliness. Everybody on the internet is doing something that, they think is funny, that only they think is funny. Or, the people that are finding success, I guess, aren't the only people that think it's funny. But, they're doing shit that only they think is funny. And then, hey, turns out other people think it's funny. But I wanted to kind of use this platform. I've got this podcast. I'll be at a small audience, but an audience nonetheless. And, I don't want to just feed them more bullshit. They've got enough of that. They've got social media accounts. You all have enough filler content. What I want to do is give you some nutrition, something you can take from every day, something that makes you a better person. Because, with this platform, there's a certain responsibility, and I'm responsible for the content I put out. The content, again, that I want to be something that you all can grow from, share, bring more goodness into the world, and less bullshit, less filler. So what I want to get into today, what I want to share with all of you, is how to skin a bunny and turn it into a mask for your loved ones, for your nieces, your nephews, your friends, your loved ones, your lover, and give them a chance to wear somebody else's skin instead of their own. So, a couple steps here. We're going to start with step one, of course. You want to get out a trash bag, perhaps some newspaper or a towel, something to lay down to catch the mess, because Lord knows there's going to be a mess. Though I will say, it's maybe not as much as you might think. It's still not something you want to get on your kitchen table or your bed, wherever you're doing this. Truth be told, you don't need that much of a surface. You just need kind of a place to put your shit on. So I'm using a trash bag. I found trash bags to be the best. They don't stuff sops through towels or newspapers. Let's be real. This kind of catches everything. It does. Depending on how you use it, you might be able to just close the bag and it's done and over with. But so I like the trash bags. I'm using a trash bag. Step two here. You're going to want to get your bunny out of the fridge. Now, rookie mistake here. You don't want to leave it in the freezer. The freezer it'll make the bunny brittle, and you don't want a brittle hide. That tears in places you don't necessarily want it to. It's not, once you get your bunny, you want to get this done pretty quick. They go bad pretty soon. So what we want to do is just kind of get it down on the table there. Get your battle station ready. Have your knife. Of course, you're going to need a knife. Sometimes you can use a pair of scissors if you've got a really boss-ass pair of scissors. But typically, I like using my knife. My trusty buck knife. We're not sponsored, of course. I feel the need to distance myself from the Buck brand here. But so now let's paint the picture. Let's get caught up. Let's make sure we're all on the same page. Got a table, got a bunny, got a knife, we got a beer. So that's an important part. I'm enjoying a nice Oberon. Just so you know I'm serious. Now, before we get started, it's important, at least to me now, to each their own, right? But for me, one thing I like to do before this practice is connect back to the bunny and say a little prayer. So join me, fold your hands together, put them in front of your heart, and focus your energy. It's still there. God damn it. Anyway, focus your energy, and to whom it may concern. Thank you for this lovely bunny and the opportunity to skin it and let its parts live on through my niece and nephew or my friend Luke's baby. I do love the bunny and my friends very much. So to see them join spiritually as one is going to be such a beautiful gift to me. In your name I pray, whoever. Thank you. So step 3 here, we want to cut a little notch in the hide. Now we're going to go neck to tail. So we want to just cut a little one in there. Make sure you get all the way around. Oh, you want a sharp knife, by the way. Dull knives are not conducive to cutting hides. So make a little notch. You want to do that towards the top of the bunny and just kind of get a good grip on there and rip it down. Just okay. Excuse me. Okay, perfect. So you're gonna want to make an incision. You're gonna want to make sure. Hang on. Let's stop. You're definitely gonna want to make sure you're not wearing your good clothes. Okay, it's skin and bunny clothes. These are painting jeans. These are old pairs of shorts, t-shirts you got from marathons or left over from school. This is a sweatshirt that you've had for 13 years. This is not work clothes. This is not a nice craft. You want to take your knife. You're going to make your incision towards the head, kind of at the neck area. Kind of cut in there. Make a kind of a okay. Make kind of a small incision here, but you're going to want to kind of stretch at least halfway around the bunny. Flip it over. Do it on the same side, or on the other side. I'm sorry, kind of on the opposite. Okay. Now you've got 2 incisions on each side. You're going to kind of grab both of them, kind of around the side of the bunny, and rip down. So, okay, hold on. We got to. It's stuck here. Okay. All right. So now you've got what looks like, we'll say, the loading bar on a computer or the battery on your cell phone. So you've got the yellow part, and then you've got the gray part. The yellow part being the skin of the bunny, and the gray part being the rest of the bunny, the inside of the bunny, if you will. Now here we're gonna. Here's where it gets a little tricky, because we got extremities. We got the tail. We got 2 back legs here that we got to go through. Now I want you to first things first. The tail, pretty useless. Let's be real. Break the tail off. Okay, this tail's sticking. How are we gonna? Man strength. Okay. Okay, you got the tail. We can just pitch that, honestly. Now, what we do have here now are the 2 legs. Now, let's stick to it. We're making this for our niece and nephew, right? What do kids like more than keychains for some fucking reason? So, what we have here is the opportunity for 2 lucky rabbit's feet, right? 2 homemade from their uncle, from their aunt, perhaps. Hey, I don't know. I don't know who's listening to this. You're going to break those off at the kneecaps, okay? So you're going to go kind of, how do you say, against where it moves. You want to go counterintuitive to where the knee goes. You're going to bend the knee backwards, basically. So you're going to put your thumbs on the kneecap there, and kind of bend. Okay, that's one. Another one down here. Now you got your niece and your nephew. No wasted parts. There you go. That's the good one. That's what we're looking for. So now you've got 2 different rabbit's feet here, and the skin of the bunny is ready to just kind of be really just finished off. So, okay, all right. So that one. Ooh, okay. Oh, it stinks. Oh God, That's a smell you never get used to. Let me tell you what. God damn it. Okay. So now we've got essentially what looks like kind of a sock with no toes, if you will. Kind of a full tubular kind of hide here. So you want to cut it down the middle because we want this to be a one-dimensional. Nobody can fit their head in a tube of a bunny. So kind of I'm going to cut down the side. It's your handy dandy buck knife. Okay, got it. And just kind of rip it down the side because you want it to be, again, flat. Okay. Okay. So now we have what looks like a big, just a pelt, really. It's a pelt. It's like what you grew up, you studied native Indiana Indians. Growing up in 4th grade, this looks like one of those pelts that you made with the marsh bags. I'm speaking regionally, of course. Shout out to my my fans out there in California. How you doing? Okay. Now how do we turn this pelt into a mask? Really simple. It's way simpler than you think. You can make eye holes, and a mouth hole. So you're gonna cut a hole and punch your shit through. Cut it, and then just kind of cut in circular motion around it. So it has to make them an eye hole instead of just an eye slit. God damn it. You'd think by now I'd be better at this, right? All the fucking bunnies I've... Go. Okay, good. Whew! That was a tricky bunny. Sometimes God doesn't make them for you, I'll tell you what. Okay. Ooh, shit. Went too far. That's okay. That's okay. She'll like it. With these things, it's the thought that counts. It doesn't need to look like a face. It's not going to look like a face because this is bunny hair. They say it's the thought that counts when they see all the work that went into taking the bunny out of this mask to shape the mask to make it fit for their head. I think they'll appreciate it. If not, they'll love you for it. Now you want to make sure these eyes are probably about halfway up the head because again, the human eye when you measure it out, the eyes are about halfway down the head when you consider the forehead. You don't want to leave too much forehead exposed. And then the space between both eyes, you want to do another eye, just like that one. I won't walk you through it. This doesn't have to be a monotonous podcast. But you want to space out about an index finger's worth. If they're smaller, you might want to adjust maybe a pinky between the eye and the mouth there. You're going to want to cut a hole about twice the size of the eyes and kind of saw at it, honestly. Okay, just kind of. So then you're going to end up with kind of a flappy part, and then just finish that off. Okay. So I'm going to just throw that down there. That's trash. You don't need that. Unless you have a use for it. You might use it as like a mouse pad for your computer. Or like, I don't know. I don't know what you need. You got a little extra part there. Honestly, the rest of this bunny, you can just throw out. But what you got now is it's a bunny hide with 2 eye holes and a mouth hole. Again, this is good for sharing with your loved ones, wearing yourself around the house if you don't want to feel like yourself. Taking the power of the bunny, using that with you. This is good for protests, concerts, large festivals, just going to the mall, really. I know sometimes people like to strap these to their face. Generally, I find that, the dried skin on the inside of the pelt provides a nice friction that it kind of doesn't fall unless you're being rowdy and rambunctious. If you're giving this to a rowdy, rambunctious nephew, I found that headbands, rubber bands, twine gives it more of a kind of an earthy feel, and I think a lot of times that's kind of what we're going for. So you want to puncture 2 holes on opposite ends there, probably a little bit, really at eye level at the edge of the mask, and just kind of run your fastener on the edge there, and stick it through there, tight little knot. That shouldn't come through. If it is, it's an easy fix. But okay, so here we want to clean up is an important step here. You just kind of wrap your shit up in the trash bag, the newspaper. Yeah. Oh. Shit. Okay, see, this is... Okay, so I messed up. We're going to want to bring paper towels initially. This is why you don't wear good clothes. God damn it. All right, I got to clean up. We're going to wrap this up. Step 12, mail the shit to the president. Everybody mail a fucking bunny mask to the president. Fuck your nephew. We're mailing it to the president. 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, Washington, D.C. We're giving him a bunny mask. Maybe then he won't feel like himself anymore. He can be... God damn it. There's so much blood. Okay. Well, I got to clean this up, but good thing my guest needs no introduction. If you've listened to the podcast before, you know him. He's Bryan. He was my first guest. He was like my 10th guest or something last summer. When the podcast came back. He's been my first guest twice, basically. He's an Odinist. He's a mercenary. He's a U.S. soldier. He's my friend. Ladies and sewer people, put your hands together for your friend and mine, Mr. Bryan. So, how's that? I mean, where are you at with the Army now?
Where am I at?
Yeah, in terms of a role. Oh, excuse me. How about, would you like a communion?
What?
Would you like a communion square?
That's so weird.
You don't have to.
Is that, like, honestly what that is?
Yeah.
Why do you just have a cup of them?
We, I don't know if you remember the family Christian stores were going out of business.
Uh-huh.
So I just peeped in. Wonder what I can find in here. And that was like the cheapest thing. It was like a $3 box of communion squares. They're super stale.
That's actually kind of cool. I kind of want to eat one, ironically, but...
That's what I'm doing. It's in a Jesus Shaves mug, man. It's up to you.
Ugh. I don't know how I feel about that.
That's awfully respectful.
It's like a philosophical debate in my head now. Like, should I or should I not?
Well, walk me through it.
All right.
Should you? What's the argument for it?
Argument for it, almost entirely irony's sake. I mean,
silliness.
The irony is just, it's too delicious.
Yeah.
I mean, just eating this,
you could have two,
quote unquote, holy wafer out of just a regular ass mug, just randomly. But at the same time, like, a tiny part of me wants to be like respectful of all other religious faiths if I want them to be respectful of me. So I'm like,
sure.
Yeah, I should probably not do things ironically just to kind of poke fun at them.
Yeah.
But at the same time,
but
kinda
a little fun.
Not super likely to return that favor anyway.
That's true. How do you feel that is? How do you feel you're received for more kind of, Western, Americanized religions? Or just Midwesterners in general?
I think America's a great place because you can look at anyone and, like, no matter what their skin color or what language they're speaking or what religious art, like, items they have on them, you're not going to look at them and be like, oh, that's a foreigner. You're going to be like, oh, that's a American who's probably of foreign birth, but they're still an American. Whereas, like, in other cultures, things are actually a lot more uniform. It's, like, less of a melting pot. So here in America, I think for the most part, it's okay. Like, every once in a while you'll encounter everyone's encountered that person in their life, like no matter what kind of path you're on, if any at all. Like everyone has that one Bible pusher friend, like that Bible thumper who's like they've just grown up with it, they don't know different, or like maybe they do know different and for some reason they're still going with that. But
well, I guess I mean more along the lines of like initial kind of introductions, less like I'm sure everybody's ultimately respectful.
Yeah, for most part.
But what's kind of the general initial reaction when you kind of introduce your faith?
That's a good one.
Do you have to explain it? And then
Usually I have to. Like, I'm always prepared to launch into this long, in-depth, like, step-by-step explanation. I'll, like, walk them through the process. But Sometimes I don't have to. I've been surprised recently by some people having a bit of knowledge beforehand and be like, "Oh, so you already know what I'm talking about?"
Yeah.
Well, that's great.
Yeah, there's I've actually seen a little bit of it in the news in the last year, but none of it positive. Have you seen? Well, I guess there was I was just doing some reading. Did you see you got approved for beards
Oh yeah,
in the Army?
I did see that.
Heck yeah.
That one.
Is that going to be very? I mean,
For me, no, that's not me. I don't grow facial hair.
is it going to
anyway.
be? Would it be easy for you to get approved? Or would that be a pain in the ass process that wouldn't?
I'm gonna be totally
You're gonna be worth
honest.
it.
I think whoever like got that approved is kind of full of shit, but like at the same time, good for them.
You mean like
So on the one hand, there's zero religious need for
Tie,
a beard whatsoever. There's no rule. There's no like. There's not even like a suggestion.
Yeah.
It's not even suggested that you have a beard. Like there's just. Dude just wanted to not shave,
Yeah.
and he managed to like convince the army that
Yeah, they don't. It seems like one of these religions that they don't know much about to argue and be like,
They
well,
don't.
shit, if it's
they're not
important to
gonna
this
look it
guy.
up.
But would that be a process?
EO is
Generally?
really big in the army right now. Like, army's trying to like modify the old culture to the new one. So it's trying to catch up. So like Sharp is their like sexual assault stuff,
Okay.
and EO is like their equal opportunity stuff. So EO covers everything from like race to religion to all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then Sharp is obviously sexism and stuff like that. So both programs are really, really big, and you don't want to be on the wrong side of
Yeah.
either of them, like at all.
Sharp sounds like an aggressive name for that.
It kind of is, but like I don't know.
Describe
it's
a
like, it's like an
weapon description.
aggressive response.
Okay,
to it.
that's fair. It is the military.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how's that process been? What's your kind of standing or your role, your job, your rate?
Me?
Yeah.
Well, I'm an infantryman, so
Okay.
warrior, soldier,
Okay.
the one doing the fighting.
Okay.
Let me put it that way.
So how long are you back?
I'm back
Definitely.
for foreseeable future.
Okay. So where have you been for the last year?
Where have I been? Well, I'm National Guard, so
Okay.
I'm not active duty, so I don't get posted to a duty station or anything. So mostly I'm here in Indiana, except when I'm training, and then when I am training, then could be anywhere.
Okay. So were you just training in Australia?
hmm Yeah.
So why do they ship you out to Australia to do that?
Well, it was part of a international war game type deal.
What does that mean?
So we, along with
That sounds fun.
tons of other units and the Australians, all participating in a big mock exercise. I'm pretty sure it's okay to talk about it now that it's over, but can't share too many details just in case the Russians are listening.
Sure.
That's a real rule, by the way.
I believe it.
Always gotta be watching out for those tricky Russians.
Do you have any idea, in theory, how they might find something like this?
How they might?
Yeah.
I mean, I assume
Russian
just
intelligence.
look it up on YouTube. I mean, that'd be pretty easy, but I don't think they're gonna find any highly classified secrets here. Not
Sure.
exactly privy to that information.
Sure. I mean, like, of course it'll be online and accessible to Russian spies, but to zero in on something that might have some intel, something low key like that.
Like something that might genuinely have some intel, not this.
Well, yeah, just some niche YouTube clip that might have something juicy.
Oh god.
You know, sub
I assume
200
they have,
views.
like some kind of algorithm to run through, looking for keywords to sort. I
That's
don't know.
wild.
Some crazy supercomputer type stuff.
Yeah. It's strange to me. Maybe it's just that we're on the sort of receiving end of that. That they are leading so. They're killing it with this like digital warfare game that, you know,
Oh yeah, it was brilliant.
tearing us apart from
mean,
the
it was
inside.
Absolute genius, asymmetrical warfare. Like
Yeah.
inspired. Kind of the first thing in history of its kind.
Yeah.
Of an absolutely flawless disinformation campaign.
Yeah.
I mean,
No, it's really. I want to be careful with my words, but it's something else.
it's out of this world. Like in my whole life, I never used social media. Never had it. Never once had it. Never once joined. Never once made any account of any kind. I've been a complete internet ghost.
Okay.
And
Internet straight edge.
in the beginning, I just did that because I thought it was lame. I was like, what are you guys doing? You're just sharing all your personal information for people to come stalk you? That's just creepy. I just didn't like the idea right from the start. And then nowadays, you got these big tech companies who are basically unfettered. Like, here in America, we've had that big problem of, like, disinformation. And, it caused some riots, some, rallies here and there, and then just some bad election
tension.
results, depending on who you talk to. But in other countries, like third world countries, like Facebook is actually responsible for straight up racial violence. Like,
really?
Oh yeah, there's big problems in like these third world countries. I've read a bunch of articles about it, like certain ethnic minorities getting riled up at like Facebook fake news stories on Facebook that just get popped up or placed by someone like accusing one group of doing something horrible, and then this big lynch mob gets together and they go attack people.
It's amazing that they don't have any foresight to look into it before they just go lynch somebody.
Yeah, countries are actually like starting to like crack down on it because their governments are like, we can't let like Facebook just keep doing whatever it wants with zero like moderators on what it puts up and what it doesn't.
Wouldn't it be wild if Facebook just destroyed us from the inside? Like, that's what does it.
Completely believe it.
It's not some plague. It's not. It's just narcissism. That's something that I'm kind of ultimately paranoid about. Not the plague thing, but the sort of the untetheredness of the big tech companies.
They got access to all our stuff.
I know.
It's pretty creepy.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is I'll get on my accounts, and I've got a pretty strange relationship where I mostly live without them, and then I live with them a lot, and then I just cut them out. But all my ads are totally geared towards what I'm talking about. It's so freaky, man.
They're listening all the time.
Oh, God, it turns me off so much.
The creepiest thing, I think, are those new smart homes, like the Alexas and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And, like, stuff where you can, like, auto-lock your doors and turn off your lights. All it takes is, like, one hacker to, like, successfully break into that, and your life is screwed.
Yeah, I mean, but isn't that kind of the same thing with your data?
I mean, yeah, absolutely, because, like, you got, like, credit cards and stuff on there, like, mobile pay and stuff, but at least, like, with that, like, banks usually, like, have a protection sort of thing where if they detect, like, a charge from, like, some other part of the state or some other country, they'll be like, hey, was this you? And you'll be like, no, obviously not.
Yeah, that's true.
Got a little safety there, a little bit.
A little bit. You got your safeguards in there.
I remember reading an article recently where, like, somebody's Alexa system, like, recorded something, like, totally private and personal and embarrassing. I forget what it was. And, like, sent it to, like, someone else. Because of, like, wrong voice commands or something like that. And I'm just like, oh, God. Why are we so lazy? Let's just, like, do things ourselves. Let me walk 5 feet and turn on the lights.
I finally... last week, I think, was Prime Day, and I was looking at a dot for a minute because it was like I needed a Bluetooth speaker, and it was just super cheap. And then I was like, yeah, but it listens all the fucking time, which obviously freaked me out. And then I realized my phone does that anyway. It's not something I'm escaping from as it is.
Kind of true.
Yeah. It's unsettling because it feels like it's creeping in, and there's nothing we can do about it. It's like the edges of the screen are going black, and it's creeping into the middle, and
just wait. Give it 10 years, we'll start getting like cyber, like biome, like
voluntarily.
I don't know what the right term is, like biometric, like fucking enhancements to our bodies, like cyborg eyes and shit. I'm sure it'll be awesome, but then it'll be terrible.
It's Black Mirror. Did you ever watch Black Mirror?
Yeah,
that's
I've
the
seen
best.
a couple episodes.
That's the fucking best.
Pretty good.
I still have a few left. I really didn't want to burn through them all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't want to just be out.
My favorite sci-fi on Netflix is probably Altered Carbon.
What's that?
Oh, I loved it. It was so good. It's a show. The premise is sort of like it's a sort of dystopian future where basically everyone can be immortal because like the human consciousness is like saved on this little like basically like a flash drive in the back of your neck, and then bodies are called like sleeves, and you just shed them over
Okay.
and over. But like only the richest people can afford to like clone themselves and keep the same one.
Okay.
Otherwise, you could be like a 5-year-old girl ending up in like an 80-year-old body if that's all they have or something.
That's kind of what the internet is already.
So it's like a big like class struggle, poor versus rich.
Yeah. Is it the kind of thing where you
Pretty
can remove the drive yourself?
No, well, no, you
But why
can't
would
because
you?
you'll be dead.
Yeah.
Your body will be dead if you're getting your
And then you can't transfer. Yeah. Okay.
yeah, yep,
Okay.
something like that. But it was a really good sci-fi, very gritty.
Is that very recent?
Yeah, it's pretty recent.
Okay. I'll look into it.
Check it out. It's pretty good.
What do you think? Are you keeping up with the Star Wars at all?
I am.
Yeah. Are you a big Star Wars person?
I grew up with it.
Yeah.
I mean, we all
I feel like
did.
that's how a lot of people are.
But like, I love the universe, but I do definitely recognize the flaws in the movies,
Mhm.
like the plot holes, the flaws. They're there, but at the same time,
Yeah.
they're enjoyable.
Yeah, they're cute.
The good moments make it worth it. I think like
Mm-hmm.
the entire Rogue One movie is worth it for that last Darth Vader scene, which is like the greatest Darth Vader scene of all time.
Yeah. It reminds me a lot of pro wrestling. We all grew up with it a little bit to some degree. I think a lot of it. I mean, not as much with pro wrestling. It's not nearly as prevalent as Star Wars, but shit. What was my next point? I don't know. Lots of like the character dynamic of there's unbeatables. There's people that just fall down after the first shot. I don't know, man.
A lot of illogical decisions that only really make sense in
Yeah.
a movie. Like they want to keep the story going a little longer.
Yeah, that's a good one. But the whole like a lot of it's kind of you got to suspend your disbelief. You gotta let a lot of shit happen for that last final.
Fictional universe.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest problem is that they just throw away some of their coolest characters. Like everyone's favorite character is like Darth Maul.
Yeah,
Make a Maul standalone movie. What are you doing? Do you know how much money you'll make? I promise it'll be like the top grossing film ever.
I don't remember. I didn't keep up with those much. You know what? To be honest, I never kept up with much of it. I've had a hard time with it, but I remember, sitting in one of the advisors' offices at Ball State, going through classes, and he told me this one about, I think it was film and religion, some kind of crossover, and I was like,
Probably like religion and pop culture.
Yeah, it's probably that one actually.
Yeah.
But one of the things he kind of brought up, and I like still haven't been able to shake, was kind of the similarities between Star Wars and some of these major Judeo-Christian religions. Do you know? So there's some sort of Jedi is a religion now. Yeah.
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 So do you know much about that?
Not too much other than that. It's kind of in general supposed to be like a following of like the philosophical teachings of the Jedi in that fictional universe, and then like with every religion, some people take it too far and become really, really cringy. But
exactly. Yeah, I mean, just give it time, sort of thing, and let it become not ironic at all.
Yeah,
Let
right now it's still kind of ironic. I've heard a couple times like people being like, "I'm gonna get Jedi on my dog tags."
Yeah,
in the army.
Well, that's people being goofy though, right? That's separate from.
Usually, that's people being totally facetious and having no idea what the actual movement may or may not stand for.
I don't know much about Star Wars. I mean, what does it stand for? If somebody's to kind of give their life to it,
I'm not.
You know.
I don't want to speak for anyone here because I'm not super educated on this either, but I mean, based on purely my knowledge of the Star Wars films, I'd say it's like, oh man, I don't even know. I guess they constantly talking about like balance in the universe, that sort of thing. Like, I suppose probably like behaving nobly. Decent values, as far as
I would think so. And they'd probably have a hard time catching on without decent values.
You know, probably none of that good old enslaving women and children stuff you might find in some other older ones.
Yeah.
Just a few. Not naming any names.
Do you think that, at least in the West, that could still, something like that could still catch on?
Like Jediism?
No, like enslaving women and children.
Oh, here in America? No. I wouldn't say so.
At least on a large scale.
America's got problems, but we're good overall. It's just the people who might want that are a minority. They just shout louder than everyone else.
Yeah.
Like they're a huge minority, but they just shout really, really loud.
What about with the whole, linking together online? Having a community that's much larger than your own community and being able to kind of congregate in larger numbers.
Human beings really like to sort of be divided sometimes into like everyone loves to be in an us versus them situation, because then you bond more closely with everyone else who you believe is on your team. But really, most people, for the most part, probably have pretty widely varying views. They're just sort of united by a common theme, maybe. But
not being alone.
Yeah, social media isn't helpful for that. I think if everyone could just relate like in person and have these in-person connections, it's a lot more difficult to be like a virulent like starter of shit. If you're in person, you have to like look other people in the eye and have an honest conversation with them. When you're like online, you can just be anonymous and just say whatever hateful thing you want.
Yeah, you could just a bot.
Yeah, or just
there's no
be
difference.
a robot.
Yeah. Yeah, so I guess, having that, with that being said, are you a pineapple on pizza kind of person?
What do you mean?
I feel like...
You're asking that question in a legitimate sense? Because no.
Yeah, no, I'm not. Because it's one of these questions that I think people get really upset about. They take a hard stance with that.
Oh, yeah, they'll be
and
like,
it's
you
meaningless.
Eat pineapple on your pizza? I'll come to your house and burn it to the ground.
The groupthink on that question is insane. I don't know why that one is very tense.
I think people just love to really like blow things out of proportion. I don't think anyone's serious about that, but at the same time, yeah, I definitely get what you mean.
No, yeah,
like,
it's the whole like liking to be on the team, yeah.
A silly question that people get way too up in arms about.
Yeah.
Like, why do I care if someone else likes pineapple on their pizza? I'm not going to eat it, but that doesn't mean they can't enjoy it.
It's the silliest example of that groupthink that you're describing.
Mm-hmm.
Which is,
yeah.
oh, man. But you're not, though?
Me? No.
Oh, you're crazy.
Pineapple on a pizza? That would taste weird as hell.
Oh, you haven't tried it?
Nope.
Oh, you should try it.
All right, I'll give it a try. That's fair.
Sold. Okay. Jeez. So I touched on this earlier. I didn't really get the chance to talk about it much, but like, there has been some rumblings that I've seen. I haven't seen much of it, but with Odinism and then white supremacy.
So that's something that the heathen community has always struggled with, and it sucks. Well, not always. What it kind of comes back to, in the 1940s, Nazi Germany adopted this hard German nationalist stance, obviously, and they used a lot of native German iconography, like symbols, in their sort of really, really fucked up, mashed together Nazi religion of like pagan German ideas with like a Christian German framework, and it became a horrifying like conglomerate religion. Like there's books been written on like Heinrich Himmler and like the Nazi SS and their whole occultism. They had like this whole occultic like system of religion, and it was really weird. It was like one part Arthurian myths, another part Germanic paganism, and another part hardline Christianity. It was all really weird.
Did they bring in Crowley?
Aleister Crowley?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
No.
I think he was after them.
Or did he? Maybe I'm thinking of L. Ron Hubbard.
Yeah, L. Ron Hubbard was Scientology.
Yeah. Well, no, yeah. I think he might. It doesn't matter. Keep going.
But ever since then, unfortunately, like white supremacist groups often adopt Germanic pagan symbols. Sometimes they'll even like identify as Odinists themselves, which, I mean, maybe they are, maybe they aren't, but they definitely don't represent the broader
Sure.
heathen community.
Sure.
It's kind of the same thing with, like, all other religions, too. Like, your average Christian person is a good, kind-hearted person who's not going to hurt anyone or anything.
Mm-hmm.
But then you get these onesies and twosies that are, like, the absolute worst people in the universe who end up being a lot louder than the rest and then end up, like, almost seeming like they represent the thing, which they don't.
So what's the connection been recently?
I'd say probably from what I've heard, like in Europe, for example, like it happens anytime you introduce like a large influx of immigrants into any group, like with the whole like Syrian refugees and stuff. I know there were some rumblings in like Germany of like resurgent white nationalism and stuff like that.
That's got to be extra scary in Germany.
Got to be super scary, but it's kind of just like a reaction to social change. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to blow up into something bigger, but at the same time, it's obviously just it's tension. Everyone's kind of uneasy. Nobody likes like a huge shift in their culture out of nowhere. It's definitely unfortunate when groups sort of appropriate symbols of a religion to like spread like
my communion
hate and stuff like that. I'd say this
isn't as hateful.
Yeah, that's not.
It's just silly.
It's just silly. Yeah. It's not really.
So, is there a correlation between the kind of structure of the religion itself?
No, not at all. There's not one single word in any book, any poem, any ancient song from Norse mythology that contains even a shred of anything relating to like
people can skew anything. Bad apples are everywhere.
Yeah. I mean, there's literally not even a single thing that's like nothing in Norse religion is even like a rule. There are no rules. Like even our equivalent of say like a Bible type, like commandment type thing, that would be for us Havamal. It's a poem that is it's the sayings of the High One. That's what the name is, and it's essentially Odin, the highest deity, sort of telling humanity his advice from his wisdom on like how to live life like a pretty cool dude and like be wise and not an idiot. And most of it's like really commonsensical, but at the same time, like obviously very good advice. Like, hey, don't drink too much when you're in an unfamiliar place.
Yeah,
I bet a lot of college students could benefit from that one. Or like maybe don't like maybe if you're like going out to the field, probably bring your weapons with you when you're a Viking warrior way back in the day or stuff.
These
like
are holy
that.
words.
I mean, I would consider them to be, but they're all. Their advice, like I can choose to follow them or not. Like, doesn't really matter.
Yeah. I was listening to our last show. You were talking a lot about how it's got to be personal. Do you find that other religions have that sort of flexibility?
Oftentimes not. I personally, this is my own personal view, not speaking for anyone. I believe that spirituality is what you have yourself, and then religion is what the organization becomes. Okay. And I don't like any religious organization. I probably wouldn't even join one that was like a heathen organization because in my mind, whenever you start to like, everyone feels the desire to organize, to have a group, to have something bigger than yourself, a community. Obviously those things are great, but I think you can find a much better community if you don't have a central structure to it, because once you get that, then power starts coming into play, influence. Like, I'm sure a long time ago, the first churches were probably pretty cool. And then, a couple years later, they start getting a little bit of political power.
How cool would it be if you could belong to a church and then also go to other churches when you wanted? Just because you need a little extra something, a little something different.
I mean, yeah. I think like flexibility and non-rigidness are what make things a lot better.
No,
I don't organize like
it's the organization thing. It's
you just
subscribing to the community as opposed to freely following the spirituality.
I definitely have found a lot more of that flexibility in the pagan community, but that doesn't mean by any means that a Christian person or a Muslim person or a Hindu person couldn't be just as flexible with their faith or spirituality. For the most part, I haven't seen that, but I
Right.
don't know too many, so I
Right.
don't want to speak for anyone.
Oh boy. Do you know of any worst offenders? Least personal practices?
How do you mean?
Oh boy. I don't know, ones that allow for the least personal growth or shit, what's the word? The word's escaping me.
Freedom?
Freedom, sure. A little bit more groupthink, a little less individuality.
Well, oh man, I don't
Yeah,
want to offend anyone, but I will
Nobody's
say
listening to
that I will say that for the most part, I mean, you see it in the Middle East all the time. Like, Islam, for the most part, is a very, very rigid religion. I hope I wouldn't offend anyone by saying that. I feel like that's more of a fact.
Yeah, I feel like that's.
I feel like
recognized.
even like good, wonderful Muslim people would agree. Yeah, it's a pretty rigid religion.
yeah.
It's not super flexible.
I'm disciplined for a reason, buddy.
Yeah, I'd hope they'd value that. But you see it all the time, like these different groups that are like very, very distinct, completely just going to war with each other because you can't do it a different way, you know?
Are those examples? I mean, in most cases, anyway, are those examples of the bad apples kind of being the louder ones in wartime situations?
Because
it doesn't.
Yeah, in some ways. Like, all right, so take the rise of ISIS, for example. ISIS was kind of just swept in because, the group of Muslims they represent were not having a great situation when the sort of power shifted over there. And it's not necessarily that all of them wanted to go to war and do all these awful things, but they were like, hey, if we get left alone to live our lives in peace, what do we care what they're doing over there in the cities and stuff? It's kind of like that.
Is power problematic? Is striving so like
I think that there should never, ever, even for a second, be any political power in a religion. I think that religion needs to be as far away from politics as possible.
sure. I mean, in general, is so. I find if I'm the chillest motherfucker out there, if I'm the most indifferent, if I could be comfortable anywhere, I think that's a strength. But there are a lot of people that want to squash that, and I think they're more, able to do so. Do you know what I mean?
Kind of.
So, let me put it another way. It's a little harder to steer the canoe when your general attitude is to go with the flow.
That's true. That's true.
So, but I don't know. I just feel like the power aspect, the kind of go-getter aspect is, I don't know, icky. It's icky.
That's fair. I mean, like, you can't... I kind of get what you mean. Like, you really can't get, like, a ton done without getting your hands dirty, so to speak, sometimes.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at guys like... Let's look at Genghis Khan, for an example.
That guy got something done.
So he got a lot done. A lot of it was horrible, and yet he's, like, the national hero of Mongolia. He's got, like, a giant 100-foot tall silver statue. I mean... On the one hand, founded largest land empire in history. On the other hand, raped and killed so many people that the carbon emission levels of the Earth actually dropped during his time period.
I was about to ask you if that was true.
That is true.
That's insane.
Like, I mean, it probably wasn't all him. There's lots of other factors, disease, other wars in other parts of the world.
People
too.
died for other reasons, sure.
Yeah, like plenty of them. But at the same time, just... quite the chaotic time period.
Yeah. So what do you think the most, undertold or underrepresented story of, I don't know, recent world history is?
Recent world history.
Relatively recent.
Oh, geez. I mean, there's a lot. I mean, a big one that hasn't gotten very much attention recently is, Russia and Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
That one's, like, kind of close to my heart because I've got Ukrainian family, but like,
Well, I mean more like, yeah, more like, I don't know, last 1,000 years or so.
oh, last 1,000 years. Well, that's not quite recent, but I mean, on a geological time scale, it is.
Yeah.
But in terms of human history, that's quite a long time. Last 1,000 years, most undertold. I
Last
don't
couple
know.
hundred. You have a favorite?
I mean, my favorite era of history is the Viking era. I've studied almost everything about that time period, but it's pretty well told overall. One of my favorite stories that doesn't get told a lot is the Viking era is generally held to end in 1066 after the Battle of Stamford Bridge, where the army of Harald Hardrada, the Norwegian king, was defeated. But how the actual story of that battle goes, the Anglo-Saxon army actually took the Norwegian army by surprise, and the Norwegian army retreated over Stamford Bridge. And on Stamford Bridge, one man, a single berserker, wielding a huge Dane axe, according to the Anglo-Saxon Chronicle, stood his ground, and all the Norwegians had time to like get into their armor and get ready and everything. And this one man held off the entire Anglo-Saxon army. Like, it's an actual
Kung Fu movie.
one-man army story. Well, because the bridge is narrow, only like 4 or 5 dudes could get across at once. So this one warrior is just holding the bridge for hours, and apparently he killed over like 60 men before an Anglo-Saxon soldier went under the bridge, like floated under the bridge in a barrel, and shoved a spear up through the planks into him to mortally wound him. But this guy's name is lost to history. No one knows what it is. And I think that's a tragedy. Cause he's a freaking legend.
He's a berserk.
Like,
We call him Dave.
nah, I probably wouldn't.
Probably not
it's
Dave.
not super Norse. It's not a very Norse name.
Not Zach.
But, yeah, I just think those one-man army stories are always, like, the coolest thing. Like,
Are there lots of them?
well, there's a good number throughout history. I mean, not all of them are, like,
60 on
necessarily
one.
man. Not all of them have odds like that, but like there's a pretty famous story from Japan in the Genpei War where was it Gem or Gen? I can't remember. It's one of the two.
It's not important.
Anyway, it's like one of the big first really huge samurai conflicts, and there's a story of this one warrior who holds the gate while the enemy army is outside, and he gives like his master, his daimyo, enough time to like, I think, commit ritual suicide, the seppuku ritual.
Sure.
And I'm pretty sure that's how the story goes, but the dude had like 60 arrows sticking out of him by the time he finally like died. He was just holding this bridge off against this whole army.
What does it take in a person?
All those probably weren't in his flesh. They were probably sticking out of his armor. Samurai armor is pretty strong.
Okay.
But some of them were probably like actually in him.
The amount of, I don't know, man. That takes so much. That goes back to what I was saying earlier. I feel like one arrow, it'd be cool piecing out. I was thinking the other day, it'd be super cool to, it's going to be very nice when you take that last breath and be like, I'm done fighting. Especially if you're sick, you're hurt, you're bleeding out, you're freaking out. And you go, no, dude. Like, you know when you're lifting weights and you're going for, I don't know, 3 more reps, and then you get to the point where like it's not happening, and you just let go, and the weight drops, and you're done.
Kind of.
You kind of. It's a. I mean, I'm
I don't
familiar with
usually
it.
use ways.
It's to fight and be like, I'm gonna get through this. We're gonna be okay, and then to finally just go, oh, am I gonna be okay?
Oh
And
no.
relax. Oh god, that's gonna be so great. Not that I'm looking forward to death, but that's going to be quite the stress relief, I think.
It'd probably be a relief. Yeah,
Relief.
can certainly see feeling that.
Mm-hmm. You know, I know I've got another friend who's in the National Guard, or he's actually deploying soon. And he wants to go die out there. Really, do you share the same sentiment?
I mean, when I first joined, kinda, yeah, a little bit. I mean, sometimes that's just how it is when you've sort of got a warrior's heart in your chest.
Right. Yeah, that's why I ask.
You're not like. There might have been a time where I was quote unquote looking for death, but like, you're only really looking for that when you've got nothing to lose. Like when you've got a lot in your life to come back to, then you don't feel that way anymore. I mean,
yeah, I don't think he's like.
It's not like being
looking to die,
yeah,
but I think that's kind of how he wants to go, more or less.
Oh yeah, no, I definitely get that. You want to die a good death. Not,
yeah.
In the old days, they called dying in bed at home a straw death because you died on a bed of straw. Yeah. So I definitely get that. I kind of agree. I mean, at this point in my life, I'm thinking, hopefully I can survive my war days, and if I do, great. If I don't, that's fine too. Probably. Let's hope and I die a good death. But
yeah, me too.
If I make it through that, when I start to get old, I'm just gonna go fight a bear.
Yeah,
that's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
If I win, I beat a bear. And if I lose, I died fighting a bear. Either way, it's a win-win.
You think a bear would put up a fight?
Yeah,
I would think so.
It's probably gonna swat me once and I'll be dead at like age 70. News story reads: a 70-year-old man attempts to fight bear.
Do you have a stance? Here's another one of those like real divisive, silly arguments. Do you have a stance in the old who would win in a fight, a bear or a gorilla?
Probably a bear.
You think so?
Gorillas are strong, but like bears got like teeth and claws. Gorillas don't.
Gorillas have teeth.
Well, they have teeth, yeah.
Gorillas have some badass teeth.
Bears are bigger, though. I mean, bears, like, you get a polar bear, that's the largest land predator that exists.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Still?
Mm-hmm.
Even though they're getting real thin?
Yeah. That is unfortunate.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I feel like not that I've got a hard, steadfast stance, but, like, I feel like a gorilla would be more inclined to fight until it drops. I think a bear might run away.
Bears are pretty smart. They're not really they don't generally want to, like, fight to the death, usually. Not even usually in conflicts with other bears.
Yeah.
Primates have more of, or even more territorial, honestly. So, gorilla, you might be right. But male gorillas, I don't think usually fight species that aren't gorillas.
Yeah, well, they probably don't run into bears often.
Yeah, I think that whole I bet they just like sniff each other for a while, just like try to figure out what the hell the other one was.
That'd be so strange.
I'm not even sure they'd be aggressive toward one another unless they were fighting over like a food resource or something.
Well, you just noted that they're pretty territorial. They felt like they were being encroached on. Perhaps.
I still feel like a huge like Kodiak bear would win though.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Gigantic. These things are enormous.
Have you seen they're trying to get this megalodon craze going again?
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen a lot of it? That's so silly, man.
I think they're coming out with a movie. Have you seen the ads for it?
Yeah, well, I thought it was a TV show. I guess
it's like called The
Meg.
Seen,
yeah, a couple of things.
It's gonna look. It's gonna be so.
It's Jaws.
Silly.
How can we do that again? How can we one up that shit?
It's gonna be a really silly movie, but the concept of the megalodon still existing is terrifying and completely likely. So
completely likely.
It's totally scientifically plausible. There's a species of whale that we know that megalodon used to eat.
Mm-hmm.
It was one of its prey items, and scientists thought it went extinct. It didn't.
The whale?
Like
or megalodon?
The whale that was one of megalodon's prey items, but they thought it went extinct millions of years ago, but it turns out it didn't. They found some. They washed up on the shore in New Zealand or something. And so like it's totally likely that species we thought were extinct have actually just moved to deeper water. So it's perfectly likely that megalodon's still out there.
Do you know of any?
It would be hard for it to maintain though, because it's so huge.
It's gigantic.
So I would imagine its only real difficulty would be finding enough food. But
do you know what they ate other than this
whales? Like whales in general.
One of their badass to eat whales.
Their hunting strategy was basically the same as great whites, where they would like strike from below. They would like literally come up from the deep and just like take a gigantic uber bite
That's so horrifying.
and just let their prey bleed to death and then tear it apart later after it died.
That's such a terrifying way
I know.
to.
The ocean's terrifying. It's metal. It's so metal.
What's the most metal thing about the ocean?
Oh god! If you play death metal underwater, you will summon sharks. That's real. They're attracted to the sound. They like it's so awesome. I love it.
Is there
That's like the metalest thing ever.
videos of this?
Yeah, I was watching Shark Week
No, there's
a
not.
couple years ago, and they were like playing. They had speakers underwater, and they were just like blasting sound. Like you can't really like hear it. You
Sure.
can't hear what the sound
Gotta take
is,
their words for it a
but
little bit.
travels in the water, and they were like, "What do you think we're playing down there to like attract the sharks?" So we're playing death metal. And I was just like, "That's the most amazing thing ever."
That's a really good answer to the question. What's the most metal thing about the ocean? Sharks like metal.
I think the scariest thing though is just like if you're in open water, I think what it is, the most terrifying thing, something can come from any direction.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you're on the ground and you're like in the forest, and sure there's dangerous predators, you're still like nothing's gonna shoot
protected
up
by
from
the ground. Yeah.
and get you, and probably nothing's gonna come from above either. You just got the sides to worry about. You have less to worry about. But when you're in the ocean, A, you're not the top of the food chain anymore. B, you can't breathe. C, you can't move well. And then D, something could come from literally anywhere and attack you.
That's the most horrifying thing I've never thought about. That's awful. I really, after I got on that stance about, yep, there are videos here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I told you.
Yeah, that sucker will definitely be in the show links on Twitter at the Jack Lagoon, of course. Yeah, I want to be careful not to get too sad here with the whole taking your last breath thing. But I always thought it'd be very cool to if you to look out on the ocean and see the blue of the ocean as far as you can see, and the blue of the sky as far as you can see, all around. Which means it's all blue. The only thing you see is blue. I think that'd be so trippy. But the problem is, there's got to be nothing around.
Yeah.
You got to be by yourself. There can't be a boat obscuring it. There can't be land in the back.
Can't be any clouds.
So you're gonna die. Is kind of the thought, which would be not the worst way to go. But I think now, after having heard you say that, that adds a lot of tension.
Yeah.
There's lots of nervousness.
Like, it's fine if the sharks pick you apart after you're dead, but like...
Yeah, I don't care.
Yeah.
Bring it to me.
Until then, though, you might just be, like, trying to peacefully enjoy your life,
Yeah.
and then, like, this tentacle
Float on
just
your back.
grabs you, pulls you down, and then you're just scared for your last moment. Well, it just sucks. Cthulhu's got you.
Would you rather get got by Cthulhu? Probably Megalodon.
Yeah, probably Megalodon.
Yeah, it feels like it'd be quicker.
Yeah.
It'd play with you a little less.
It'd be just one bite. I mean,
Yeah.
a human is gonna fit
It'd be like,
inside Megalodon's jaws.
It'd
You're
be like
gonna be
Geppetto.
just
Geppetto?
swallowed whole.
Am I confusing stories?
Geppetto is like Pinocchio's maker. So
He was
it
in
might
the
be.
whale, right?
No.
No?
I don't think so.
I thought there was a part of Pinocchio where they wound up in a whale.
I don't remember that.
No,
but
no,
you
I'm
might
not
be
that
right.
familiar with Pinocchio, though.
I'm not either.
Yeah, okay. So, a little bit more reading I was doing, I saw that the military didn't greenlight Thor's hammer on gravestones. Is there a specific way you want to be kind of disposed of, other than sharks dismembering you?
No, I don't want sharks dismembering me.
It'd be pretty metal, though.
It would be pretty metal. I actually thought they did approve the Thor's
Oh, did
hammer on You might be right. If you've
Okay.
read something recently, I'm going to go ahead and take your word for it because it's been a long time since I've read anything about that. I actually thought that they did, but I could be totally wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Either way, that is just for military gravestones, like a
Right.
gravestone in a quote-unquote like military cemetery,
Mm-hmm.
like Arlington or something like that. I probably wouldn't want to be there anyway.
Yeah. I wouldn't either.
Funeral rites
I'm not
are kind of
military.
like, I don't know, there's something I've thought about a lot, like for a long time in heathenry, I guess, in like the old times, good old heathen times, the Viking Age. There's a lot of different methods of funeral. The most well documented is Ahmed ibn Fadlan, who was a one of a scholar for the Sultan at the time. He encountered a tribe of the Rus Vikings on the banks of the River Volga.
Now, what are Rus Vikings?
Just like Swedish Russian Vikings, basically.
As opposed
Swedish
to
Vikings who had
just
already
territorial
been
difference?
through Russia.
Okay.
They were just
Other
like
Vikings.
Russia was founded by the Vikings. Like the Kievan Rus, the three brothers, the statue of the three brothers in Kiev, Ukraine, they're Vikings.
Okay.
Like, they're in a Viking longship. They're Vikings who went down there and founded that nation. So the original line of the Tsars in Russia was actually Scandinavian for quite a while.
Really?
And they slowly dropped Scandinavian names and religion and adopted the Slavic ones.
So when was that?
That was, that would be 800s to 900s approximately. Like,
Okay.
I could get more exact dates if I looked it up.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, that's not precisely my area of expertise. But I think Vladimir the First was the first one to like Christianize, drop the old the Norse religion. Actually, it wasn't, the Tsars weren't worshiping the Slavic religion. It was actually the Norse religion because they were Vikings. I believe it was Vladimir the First, but I could be wrong. So
funeral,
Ahmed ibn Fadlan, he's part of a merchant expedition, and he's there to trade furs with them. But he ends up arriving at a very auspicious time because their chieftain has died. So
Oh no.
he actually gets to observe their entire funeral process, and it's super duper well documented. He documents like everything about it, and nothing in his account is too far-fetched. It's too unbelievable. It all sounds pretty plausible. Obviously, the real truth of it might be lost to history. Who knows?
Sure.
But for the most part, everything in his account sounds very matter-of-fact, very believable, not injected with a lot of propaganda one way or the other.
So what's the account?
You can actually look it up online. It's available almost anywhere. But for the most part, he sees that they separate the chieftain's body. They sort of bury it for, I believe it was 9 days, while they prepared his funeral clothes and like.
What do you mean they separated his body?
Just like from the rest of the group,
Oh,
from
okay.
the settlement. Like they just
Okay. They didn't dismember his body.
No, they had their own area for it. That's what I mean. There was a big celebration, feasting. I know the parts of his account that really stick out, and they actually featured all of these exact details in History Channel's Vikings series, which is pretty popular. I mean, I love it, but at the same time, it's also sometimes difficult for me to watch as a scholar because I'll just be pointing out things
It's
left
dramatic.
and right. Yeah. I'll be like, oh, they're messing up the chronology on this and this and this. They're kind of just smashing all of Viking history together into one storyline. But they have some of the like shocking details, I guess, for our modern. They actually ask a female slave, or the like household slave serf, thralls would be the Norse word for it. If someone will die with their master to like go to Valhalla with him.
Okay.
So it's since someone volunteers. So that's a pretty interesting point. I mean, in Norse culture up there, like human sacrifice happened, but it was for the most part voluntary. If it wasn't voluntary, it was criminals and or prisoners, one of the two. But for the most part, it was deemed
bad apples.
It was seemed like in order for it to be a sacrifice, someone had to willingly sacrifice. Like, hey, I'm actually giving something up here, rather than just,
Oh, that person got to be so dope.
I mean, dark times. I mean, they probably didn't have much better options for the most part. Sometimes
dying in battle. I mean, dying for sacrifice. It's kind of the same. It's dying
sort of
for
the same
sacrifice.
Concept.
You're sacrificing oneself for the battle.
The female slave was then treated like royalty for like the duration of the time. Like she could just like do whatever she wanted, have sex,
rags
with
to
whoever she
riches.
wanted, like get all the drink, all that stuff. At the end of that time, she's ritually killed and then placed on the ship, the long ship, with her master. I don't believe the long ship was on the water in that account. I believe the ship was actually on top of a pyre. So then the whole thing is burned, and
But not on water.
not on water in that case.
Okay.
I do believe that the usually actually ship burials were done not on the water, as far as I know. Well, I shouldn't say that. I should say
Usually.
the ones that we have evidence of were not. So older burials, we actually have a lot of like Anglo-Saxon ship burials at like Sutton Hoo. The Sutton Hoo ship is really famous. The whole burial complex there, like ancient heathen Anglo-Saxon kings in England before they converted too, because the Angles and the Saxons were originally Germanic tribes that came over there and invaded like Celtic Britain. So they all have really very heathen grave goods and all that, and those ships were just buried. And it's actually the same in Scandinavia. There's several very large, prominent ship burials where the ship itself is just buried with all the grave goods and the bodies interred on it. And then smaller Viking graveyards, there's actually like
little
stone
toy
ships, so to speak. Like the gravestones are sort of arranged like a small ship around the body. So it's sort of this belief
Around the
that-
body?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's like around where the body is buried.
Like
I
like
should say
almost like a halo.
Yeah, just like a ship, an elongated.
Like they
ship
drew a
shape.
ship with rocks.
Yeah, and it's sort of this belief that the ship is the vessel that carries you into the afterlife, so to speak.
If they were doing the traditional Viking funeral, burning it on the water, would there be any real evidence of that?
I mean, parts of the ship might survive. It would probably break apart at a certain point of burning before the whole thing would not be consumed. It would probably just end up as wood pieces at the bottom of the ocean, but it would probably burn to the point that the body was consumed by the fire before it broke apart. But
but even if it did break apart,
metal and wood would survive that.
Metal wood. Well, the wood would survive too,
just,
but it'd be gone by now.
Yeah, and it just wouldn't look like a ship anymore.
No.
For example, like would they have evidence of other sunken Viking ships? Like there's this one harbor in Scandinavia where they deliberately sunk ships to make defenses. So, and they found those.
What?
And they like sunk ships to make like a defensive harbor. So they deliberately like scuttled ships so that the shipwrecks would be at the underneath the water,
coming above the water.
It would just be like high enough in the water that like if a ship were to try to enter, it would hit the bottom.
I see.
So that's how that would work.
That's cool.
Yeah,
that seems effective.
So like some of those ships are actually in like the museums in Scandinavia where they've brought them back up and restored them as best they can.
I know you've talked about some of these museums before on the show. Have you gotten the chance to go out to any of them?
I haven't, but I'm hoping here in the next year or two I might get the chance to head over there to Scandinavia and check them out.
Do you think we have that opportunity with the Army?
No, probably
no.
That'll probably be on my own time, personal thing. Even if I was over there with the Army, we wouldn't get to go do that.
Yeah.
We'd be way too busy.
So, personal thing. Would you go alone?
Would I go?
Would you take that journey yourself?
Oh, if I could, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, I would think so. That seems like a...
One of my big life goals is to spend like a lot of time in Scandinavia because I want to get like a master's certification from the Academy of Viking Martial Arts in Norway, where they teach Laustak Glima. Glima is the word Glima means flash, and it refers to wrestling, grappling, and also martial art that's traditional in Scandinavia all the way back to the Viking Age, and it's not taught basically anywhere outside of Scandinavia. Like I looked for schools all over the country of America, and
so where'd you find the schools?
I looked online for like where they taught it. After I kind of heard about the existence of the martial art by chance because I'm a martial artist. I practice a lot of different martial arts, and so after that I was trying to do research on it, and I found this one school called the Academy of Viking Martial Arts where they teach a very much like self-defense, like modern combat as well as ancient combat oriented style of it. So they like use like Viking weaponry in their like practice. So I thought that was super cool, and I really want to like actually be able to train there.
Yeah.
That would require like significant time over there, so that's the trouble.
Like years and years of time?
Probably. I mean, it usually takes at least a few years to master any kind of martial art.
So are there schools you haven't gotten to practice this domestically because there are just no.
I mean, I've been able to learn a few techniques from like online
Like
videos,
YouTube, yeah.
stuff like that. But like stuff that they've posted, their videos, so you can study the technique, but you don't get the chance to really like practice it unless you're there.
Do you still get the opportunity to practice martial arts?
Me? Oh
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. Whenever I can. Usually, I just do it as sort of both like meditation and fitness and all that stuff. I just do it in my day-to-day routine. I'll just like take some time, even if I'm watching TV, I'll just like flip on the TV and I'll just get up off the couch and I'll like shadow box, or I'll get like a training weapon out and just do forms and techniques and just practice.
That's fun.
I can kind of just turn my mind off and just do it by routine at this point.
Is it difficult? Is that something that's often practiced solo?
I mean, yeah, training's always better if you have like a training partner, but it's good to be able to practice alone and just like do your own thing too as well.
Have it personal. Is it? I don't know. Is it like as enjoyable? Do you get to do it with others much?
Not.
Do you belong to a
much.
school at all?
Not right now.
Yeah.
I don't do any formal training at the moment just because I'm too busy with work and the military and all that stuff. But I'm hoping once I can get things settled down, I can actually go back to the school I used to practice at, which is Krav Maga Worldwide. Krav Maga is actually the Israeli hand-to-hand combat system, so it was invented in Israel. Super badass. They're so tough. It's awesome. It was the first martial art I really like trained seriously in. I trained for 3 or 4 years, like very intensely, before I had to cut off due to school. But
what drew you into Krav Maga?
At the time, I was really just looking for the most badass martial art I could find, and it fit the bill. So
why is that the most badass?
It's like sort of because it doesn't really treat itself like a martial art. It treats itself like a hand-to-hand combat system. So it's not meant for sports. It's not meant for like going into the ring with someone else. It's meant for like real situations and like the battlefields and stuff, or like street defense.
It's made for crushing skulls.
Yeah, hitting the balls, gouging out the eyes, striking the throat, all that.
Yeah, okay.
I remember this is an experience that
That's
sticks
brutal.
with me for like I tell the story whenever I talk about it. We were being taught like ground fighting or something like that, and one of our instructors was just like, all right guys, I'm gonna teach you the proper way to rip out a human throat with your teeth so you don't hurt your teeth. And I was like, all right, damn, well, shit.
And
well, you just gotta like bite into it and then tear like sideways so like your teeth saw out, kind of like a shark. Just be a shark.
Okay.
Just don't
Shark
like
somebody's
pull.
throat.
You gotta like rip.
What do you don't rip?
No. Rip, don't pull. 'Cause if you pull, then you're just gonna like yank your own teeth out.
I see. You gotta like
Just, like,
cock your head a
saw
little
it
bit.
out.
All right. Well, let's hope that never comes to that. That seems like that'd be
Hopefully
traumatic.
not. A little bit, probably. I'd be more worried about their blood being dirty or something. I'd be like, ugh. I'm gonna go get tested now. Damn.
When would that be the best move?
I don't know.
Like,
all right.
I'm out of other options.
Yeah. Like,
Balls and eyes aren't an option anymore.
There's like a great scene in The Walking
Gotta go
Dead
for the jugular.
where Rick like tears out a dude's throat. Like the whole time that scene was happening, I was like, tear out his throat, Rick. Do it. And then he did it, and I was like, yes.
You ever seen MacGruber?
Yeah.
That's a
yeah.
running gag of MacGruber. I don't remember the movie that well, but he gets
like
it, doesn't
a
he?
fish hook glove, and like he has like fish hooks in his hand, and he's just pulling them out, and it's ridiculous. That movie was silly.
That is a silly movie. So, a little bit more that I wanted to... I don't think we ever really got much into the occult.
Yeah.
We touched on it a little bit before. It's something that I really like fascinated at the idea of, but...
It's always a fun time, the occult.
Yeah, right.
Just messing with it in graveyards in the middle of the night.
Don't know that much
Great
about it.
plan.
So it means...
I guess
hidden in plain sight. Yeah.
Yeah, the definition of what someone might consider a cult kind of varies person to person. Like, I would assume, again, not trying to speak for anyone here, a Christian person might consider everything I do a cult.
Right.
Like, they might just lump
I feel like
that
that's just
in
misguided,
as
though.
a big, like, negative term for all things that are, like, demon worship or whatever, you know. I guess it kind of just refers to magic, witchcraft, the taboo, things that people aren't really used to. Usually when I think of the occult, I don't think of like the normal magical things most pagan folk do. I don't think of it at all as the occult. When I think of the occult, usually I think of like Ouija boards and like the taboo stuff, I guess. Because like necromancy is pretty taboo for most folks. Like most of us still don't mess with that unless we're being really careful.
Which is spells?
Necromancy is anything that involves trying to communicate or manipulate the dead. So, like a Ouija board, or like anything you're about to do in a graveyard at night with some kind of departed spirit. Like, I'm a skeptical man. I always believe in science first. Even my own personal religion is very, very much intertwined with science. And if science ever just religion for my spirituality, it sort of fills in the void where science can't explain yet. And if science ever disproves me, I'll probably side with science because science is provable.
Yeah.
So I'm a very scientific man. But I've seen some stuff. For a long time, I didn't believe in like ghosts and that sort of side of the supernatural. I didn't believe in that sort of thing. But I've had a few experiences that are pretty spooky.
I'm asking about the occult because I'm interested. I feel like I'm less scientific. I feel like I'm more gullible in that sense.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I've always drawn the line at ghosts. I don't get it. I think they're kind of silly. So I want you to change my mind right now.
All right.
Because
I'm gonna tell my favorite story about this. Then
give it to me.
It actually takes place in Muncie, right by our lovely Ball State. There's a graveyard. I don't remember the name of the graveyard, and that's so dumb of me because I've been there so many times, and I feel bad about that. But right off, you know those train tracks that run right through like Jackson Street, like really, really close to campus. On like, oh god, it's right by.
Is it right past that CVS?
Bother me. Yeah, it's by that CVS. Those train tracks. You follow that the other way, going away from CVS. You go through like this plaza. It's got like a name. Like it's gonna bug me. I'm gonna like remember it like later today, and I'll be like, damn it, that was it. Anyway, right over those those train tracks go over the river, the creek.
Sure,
it's a river,
the White River.
Yeah, and on the other side, you can sort of hop the fence into this really, really big, really nice graveyard. It's got like a big gate where you're supposed to go in normally. We didn't do that. So it was like my freshman year at Ball State. It was probably like the year you and I met, and I did the podcast. But it was early. Was it early? Yeah, it was earlier in the year. And we were all just hanging out at one of our friends' houses, just normal friends drinking night, playing some board games, drinking a little bit,
little
talking,
Ouija board,
good stuff. Nah, not that. It was like Munchkins or Cards Against Humanity or something. And then someone's like, "We should go on an adventure." It's like 1:30 in the morning at this point, and everyone's like, "Yeah, heck yeah, let's go on an adventure, of course." And so someone's like, "Where should we go?" And one of our older like friends was like, "We should go to the graveyard." And so we were like, "Heck yeah, that sounds amazing. Where is this graveyard?" So
it's like, we're gonna make one.
Take us. We drive over there, and then we get out of the cars and head over the train tracks. And it's pretty cool because it's already like over some train tracks that are over a river. So it's like this really dramatic like railroad bridge over this river.
Yeah,
it's really cool. I love going there. And we get to the other side, and you have to sort of hop down like this concrete like
like a dam
archway. Okay. Like the train tracks go over, and then like from the side of the train tracks over here, that's where the like concrete arches where you can actually get down onto the fence and then hop down into the actual graveyard. So we all make it.
So it's an obstacle course.
It's a bit of a process. Not
Do you guys
everyone
know how you're getting out at this point? It seems like it'd be difficult to escape.
I just assumed the same way because I'm athletic.
Okay.
So for me, it's super duper easy. It's like one little hop and a leap and I'm over.
Okay.
But not everyone in the group was so athletic, so it was a bit of a struggle for a while. But we don't need to go into that. We don't need to go into that part. So we all get in eventually. And we're walking around. At this point, I'm still in the department. Like, I don't really believe in like ghosts or that they can affect people in the physical world or anything like that. So we're just walking around. We're not really doing anything. We don't really have a plan once we're in here for any specific activity we're gonna do. So we're just walking around. For some reason, some of the people in the group started singing that like hanging tree song from the Hunger Games, which is kind of creepy.
Okay.
But that's what we did.
Yeah.
I wasn't. One or two of our friends who were empathic, or very. I'm not even sure how to describe what empathic is. Just like feeling energies and feelings from other people, like they're your own kind of deal. Being able to sense them more more strongly than other normal people can.
Yeah, sure.
And so they're like making some signs. They're like protecting themselves. We're like, what are you doing? Like, we can see some like dark energies over there, some like dark figures. And so we're like, I don't see anything, so it must be fine. So I was just skeptical. I was just like, oh,
all right, you're
do that,
being silly.
So we walk around for a little while, and we're sort of heading back towards where we came from when I actually took a little pause by some military graves. I wasn't in the military yet because I was only 18, but I was like, well, I'm definitely going to join someday. So for a sec, I just want to like offer some respects. So that's all I was going to do. So I like did a little like this sort of salute thing I sort of do. And at that moment, I think I sort of made a bridge to the other side, like a connection, because I was trying to address them. At that exact second, out of nowhere, for no reason, I got the most piercing headache I've ever had in my life. Like, it was just the most sharp pain in my brain that I've ever experienced. And I had to drop to a knee. Like, it hurt so bad. Like, I just dropped. I was just like, holy shit, what the fuck just happened? So I was like down for like a good 5 seconds, just trying to like get back.
Yeah.
And so I stand back up, and I've still got the dull headache. I've still got
one of these sharp
pains.
Okay.
Still got a dull ache going on, but like the sharp pain is over, and I just feel kind of weird. I get back up. One of my friends comes over to get me. I'm just like, I started telling him about it, like, I just got this crazy weird head pain. So we leave, and we head back to our friend's house. I'm the last one in the door, and everything's fine and normal. And then the second I get in the door, her cats are just all over me. They're just like doing circles around me. They're just sniffing at my feet, like trying to find something.
Just you?
That like just me. And they like already like knew me, so that was kind of weird. I felt better. I felt fine. So me and my other friend, we left. The next day, it was like a Monday.
Don't like that the story's still going on.
Yeah.
There's more to it.
The next day, it was like a Monday, and we all met up, and my friend whose house it was, she was like, yeah, you like left something in my house. Like something was on you and got odd because it apparently threw all of her stuff off her shelves, and she had to like sage bomb her house and banish it. Like whatever it was. So some kind of dark entity kind of like latched onto me. I wouldn't have believed it had I not like felt that head pain and all that craziness. Like, because it was just out of nowhere. There was no reason for it, and like. Since that day, like ever since then, I've been back to that graveyard a couple times, and I can always like, feel stuff a little bit more now. I've become a little bit more like
only at that graveyard,
that. Not just there, like any place like that. It's sort of like, it's the best way I can describe it. It's like a cold feeling. Like you walk past a certain area and you just feel cold all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Not like those idiot ghost adventure hunters where they're like, "Did you feel that? It's a cold spot." And the other dude's just like, "You're standing under an air vent, you dumbass." Like,
you're paranoid.
That shit makes me laugh so hard. It's not like an external feeling. It's an internal feeling of cold. Like in your head. Like you've just sensed something's there. And like your brain is giving you like a slight fear response to it. Because that's what a fear response feels like. Is like cold. Like something's following me. Oh shit. a little cold chill, like
Yeah, yeah. We yeah, it's the cold. I think a chill is a better word for it
yeah, like it's
than
like a
cold.
chill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those Ghost Adventurers did an episode in a house here in town in Westfield, and they had to leave in the middle of the night because they got scared. I did
Pussies.
I did an overnight at this place in the same basement.
Really? That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was very cool actually. We so this was a local serial killer.
Ooh.
I'm just gonna praise over it. So this is a local serial killer, the late '80s, early '90s. They potentially, it doesn't matter. Like, I think they found 9 confirmed people on his property, 11 total.
Mm-hmm.
So like 2 not confirmed, and up to 27 kills maybe. He would bring them down to the basement where there was he had a pool in the basement, and then he'd like fuck them and choke them to death with like a pool hose, I think. And
I feel like I heard about this one.
oh, dude, it's a
Something
good one.
Similar. Oh.
And then he ditched the bodies in the woods behind his house. If you go on, do you ever get on the Monon?
No, not usually,
Okay.
but I've been on the Monon.
Part of the Monon runs through the backyard.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a little spooky.
Yeah, it's a final resting place for at least a dozen local gaymen. Anyway, so yeah, I had the blessing of doing this for like our high school broadcasting
I
team.
definitely know who you're talking about now.
Herb Baumeister.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had like this whole conversation about serial killers one time when we were over there.
Who knows about him?
Some of my
It's low key.
squad mates and like battle buddies. Who like just
Serial killers.
listen to like serial killer podcasts.
I'm so into some right now. This guy though, so yeah, we got to, but this was in high school,
Right.
and we went to school with the guy that lived there now. Now, their name is Graves. Their actual name is Graves, and they actually live on Fox Hollow Farm, which is a Scooby-Doo haunted house. You know what I mean? Dad's name is Rob. His name is actually Rob Graves. You can't make this up.
It's amazing.
I know. And so we're in the basement one night and trying to like, all right, is that a ghost? No, is that a ghost? Mm-hmm. And we heard the sound and we're like, is that a ghost? And it was just Will like fucking with us a little bit. So we set up cameras. We're like, if we're going to get something, we need to make sure it's not Will. So we set up like a low key camera on the stairs coming down. So we knew we were alone. And we did catch something on film. There was I guess everybody heard a door open. I missed this personally, but it was enough that they all looked at each other and Grayson got up and went and checked it out. And I don't know if the door was open or closed, but they all heard it, you know. We went back on the tape and didn't hear anything. But right before Grayson gets up, there was like I swear to God, dude, it's like a cartoony ghost sound or like an owl. Ooh. right over the camera. And that's the closest I have. And then Will fucking with us all night, pretending to be a ghost.
Oh man, the best story I've ever heard, like the most convincing one, was actually my platoon sergeant was telling us a bunch of the guys who like stayed up one night instead of going to sleep, like these stories about this straight up haunted house that he and his family lived in for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And it was easily the most convincing story I've ever had. There was so much stuff.
Do you remember about it?
Every day. I don't want to like try to share too many of the details just because it might be personal and I don't want to do it. But I'm pretty sure one of the parts he said was like they like had a camera at one point to like try to record things. At one point the camera just like turns away and like no one's home and it's just like, or, like
cameras don't do that.
or like
Cameras don't know how to turn.
they were like at one point he was like planning on moving and he like said like I can't wait to get out of this like fucking house before he like left the house. And then when he came home on his laptop was open, it just had the word no typed on it. It was just like, oh shit, never mind.
They learned to type.
It was just
They're typing ghosts.
just like all kinds of stuff like that. Just like, oh man, that was easily the most convincing story I've ever heard. Because
What do you think millennial ghosts are going to be like? You think they're going to be as spooky?
No,
Are they going to play lots of practical jokes?
I'm just gonna have really bad humor.
Yeah, terrible. They're going to like...
not be scary. I'm just gonna like they're gonna try too hard and it's gonna end up cheesy.
They're going to try too hard? or they're just gonna be like so indifferent
Yeah.
to the whole process.
Just be like, ugh,
I'm sleeping.
I'm over
Can you
this.
please keep it down?
Yeah.
So-
Being a ghost would be pretty cool. I'd be into that for a while. It'd get boring.
Yeah. Do you think you'd have to be a ghost forever?
Oh, that would suck. They always say it's like about some unfinished business or something. I'd want to like solve that real quick. I'd start like trying to communicate in dreams to someone, make them think they were like on like
that'd be the
their own
best.
TV special of like ghost, like
Yeah.
the ghost whisperer. Be like, hey, so you need to do this for me so I can like get out of here.
Oh, that's so on the nose, though, dude. If you've got supernatural powers, you're gonna talk to them in their dream. Like, you gotta send them signed, like arrange shit, give them little hints, be real subtle about it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that would be so much fun.
You could enjoy it for sure. You could just trail it on, really drag out the process.
Do you think? Well, they probably don't decide where they get to hunt. Hunt.
It's probably just someplace you have like a really close attachment
Do you
to.
think if you're a ghost, I'll bet ghosts hate the word haunt.
Probably.
Like, I'm trying to do my work. I'm not haunting shit. I'm trying to avenge my death.
Something like that.
I'll bet they hate the word haunt.
Probably.
So, yeah, being a ghost would be the coolest for a little bit. I don't know. Once you're dead, is it like the alternative would be do something else forever?
Yeah. The alternative would be like maybe afterlife, if there is one.
For sure.
Who knows? Maybe
It'd
there's
be-
not, and we're all ghosts.
it'd be a good
and
Christian
just
heaven.
Some are just more prominent than others. But everyone, like, there's like a ghost central, and everyone's just chilling there, and then some people
Like high
just
school,
like, come back.
Ghost Central High School.
Oh man, I would hate for it to be like a high school. I'd imagine it
That
to
is-
be more like a community center or something.
Okay. Yeah, well, we just wrote a Nickelodeon show, Ghost Central High School. It's a ghost high school. Ghost high school. That's all it is.
Just for like high schoolers who die.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
it'd be a little weird if there were like
It's
old
just a
people there.
normal high school, but with little ghost jokes. Like, they don't have feet, you know?
Makes sense.
That's one of the things that the Graves family told us is they're like moving in. Like they just got there. They're like painting or something. And she looks out. They've got this big glass window. Like really long, like stretches like the whole wall. No, she's outside. She's outside on a ladder. And she looks over and she sees this boy with a red baseball cap walking into the woods. And she goes to say something because there's a man in her yard. And then she notices that this boy doesn't have any legs and loses her mind. And she's the only one that really gets anything. She's a little bit more. She's a little bit more in tune.
Yeah,
She's a little bit empathic,
spiritually receptive.
empathic.
I'd go with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess her side of the sink is really like her sink in the master bath is a hub. Like, she sees a lot of it there. She figures that was probably his bathroom sink.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
I'd just be so uncomfortable living in that house. I'd be like, nope, I'm sorry. I'm either gonna literally have sage clothes like constantly burning, or I'm just gonna burn this motherfucker to the ground and then build over it.
It's called Fox Hollow Farms, dude. I want to do a whole podcast about it for Halloween or something.
Cool. That'd be awesome.
There's a apartment over the garage that's a real
See,
serious area
if
too.
I were to go like ghost adventuring, like deliberately venturing out to like mess with that shit, I'd be protected against threats, physical and spiritual. I'd be wearing like full armor, and I'd be like have like all the charms, like have like a sword soaked in some like I don't know spirit water or something, just whatever I need.
See, but if you're going adventuring like that, you wouldn't want the repellent. If you're going mosquito hunting, you wouldn't want to wear bug spray.
True, but I feel like
You want to be bringing on ghosts. I think ghosts are assholes.
it's true. It's partially true. I'd probably just wear like the physical
spooky.
protection then, so I'd be like, all right, nothing physically can hurt me right now. Just
Do
like,
the physical protection under a bed sheet.
I'd wear like like some chainmail with like bulletproof armor on top. That'd actually
Just
be
in case a
pretty
ghost
cool.
shoots you.
Just in case. Hey, it could be some like possessing paranormal activity shit where they
True.
like possess someone, and then they're coming after me with a knife, and I gotta be like, just like, can't hurt me.
Chainmail, bitch. throw over the
Throw 'em
stairs. Would you have any interest in going ghost hunting?
Oh, absolutely. It'll be a good time.
I think so too. Would you have any interest in going mosquito hunting?
Mosquito hunting? No, I don't.
Probably not.
That doesn't sound fun.
I heard. Hey, settle an argument.
All right.
Mosquitoes, animals,
Yeah, they're animals. They're insects.
are insects a part of the animal kingdom?
Yeah,
It's not separate?
Animal is like even us. We're all animals.
Sure, I would acknowledge that we are, but there are. Is the line drawn at vertebrae and invertebrate? Do I remember learning that, or am I now making up rules to justify my stance?
Even invertebrate animals are still animals.
I got no respect for them. I don't think so, man.
Can't respect a jellyfish.
No, fuck jellyfish.
What about an octopi?
That's a good point.
Octopi are smart. They don't even have a central nervous system, so we don't know how smart they are.
That's a good point.
They could be like genius aliens down there just messing with us.
What if they're ghosts?
They're probably not ghosts because we can touch them.
No. What if they're the ghosts that you saw at the graveyard, dude?
Octopi?
What if that's their
I don't think that's the case.
that's their energy? They're transcending water, bro.
Probably not.
Probably. Yeah, I don't.
Unlikely.
I'm not betting on it.
I'm not betting on it either. I'm not going to say it's not true because I can't prove it's not, but.
Ugh. Jeez. I don't know, man. For the third time, we barely touched on the occult.
Yeah, it's true. You got any more questions?
Not really. I didn't have that many to start with. I just kind of wanted to follow your lead. Where's the best place? How about this? I want to move forward with this podcast, and a lot of the guests I have on here are just like friends.
Mm-hmm.
And, at this point, I'd probably lump you in the friend column, but you're still a little bit more like specialized and separate from like just doing a podcast with my friend.
Yeah.
It's kind of angled. And so if I wanted to go find somebody to tell me about the occult, if I wanted to do an occult episode, where would I find somebody? This is called networking, ladies and gentlemen, because I'm a true professional doing it on the show.
The best place you could look is probably last Saturday of every September is Indie Pagan Pride Day. So in Broad Ripple Park, basically like half the pagans in Indiana assemble and like just have an awesome time.
You said last Sunday or last Saturday?
Last Saturday. And it's like the coolest event ever. It's like if a Ren fair and an occult fair got combined. It's so cool. You'll be able to just walk around and talk to anyone, and they'll have all kinds of myriad experience and beliefs. And I bet you'll find someone in there who's like hardcore into the occult. But again,
I'm sure I would, yeah.
I guess I'm like an occult expert if you consider what I do occult, but at the same time, like the stuff that I would consider occult, I don't really mess with that much.
Yeah, I want more what you would consider the occult.
All right. I guess what I'd like anything like that like falls not just into like the supernatural category, but also like the spooky category.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
messing with the dead, like old, like quote unquote satanic ritual. Not really satanic. Satanists are cool people. But like what like
Let's not use blanket terms here.
they're mostly
Let's not lump them all into the cool category.
like all the ones I've met have been cool.
I'll give you that.
Good old secular humanists.
Yeah.
But all that stuff like that serial killer painting a pentagram in blood on the
sure.
wall, even though it makes no sense.
Well, one of the, we talked about listening to the podcast about serial killers and shit. I'm listening to one now. It's a couple parts long, but it's about Manson, and one of his like parting wisdom, parting instructions to the family before he set him off was leave something witchy behind.
Yeah.
And yeah, dude, something witchy.
Something witchy.
Something real witchy, dog.
Just start some shit.
What do you-
People blaming us for stuff.
Now, you use witchcraft.
Mm-hmm.
Is there something different about? I guess it's not really different. Something witchy. the reason that they like that he said witchy is because it elicits sort of a fear response.
Mm-hmm.
You don't associate it kind of at all with fear.
No, not at all. I mean, the word witchy or like witchcraft
Witchcraft.
would only really incite like a fear response from like, your typical Judeo-Christian worldview type person. Judaism actually has its own occultic tradition. It's called Kabbalah. So that's actually pretty cool. They have like golems and shit, like spells to create like these living clay men. That's super awesome.
Why?
Judaism's pretty cool. I love Judaism. Like, Jews are cool people. They're awesome.
But no, go back.
Oh yeah,
Has this
the
ever
clay
worked?
Men?
Yeah.
So there's actually a lot in like Jewish tradition about it. I know there are a lot of stories. I don't know if I don't think it features anywhere in like the Old Testament or anything like that. But I think it's more of like a folkloric thing.
Okay.
Not quite a religious thing. It's more their like folklore and their like folk magic and folk wisdom, stuff like that. I can't tell you if it's ever worked because I don't know.
Yeah.
But I part of me doubts it. But at the same time, I would accept it if I saw it with my own eyes.
Yeah.
But the legend is that it sort of like goes out of control. Usually, it's sort of like a lesson about man's like hubris type deal, or also just laziness, trying to get a clay golem to do your work for you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know you like turn it off or like kill it by putting like a or
Take its hard drive out of the back of its neck.
you might actually like give it life by putting like a spell in its mouth. That's pretty cool. Oh, some like occultic spells from the heathen tradition. This is pretty good. This is my favorite example of occultism of all time. Necropants. It's an actual spell.
Sounds like a pun.
It's part of the Icelandic magical staves, the Galdrastafr. And what it is you literally make a pair of pants out of the flesh of a willing donor of their lower body. It specifies willing.
Yeah.
There's a real pair of them. There's a real pair at the Icelandic Museum of Witchcraft, which is the coolest place in the universe, and I can't wait to go. And what it is you put a gold coin and the spell sigil in the ball sack of the necropants. And then supposedly you will find a new coin there every day and have infinite money, essentially. And it's so cool. And there's a real pair, and it's been made. I don't know if it works. I don't think anyone's going to put those on in their right mind. But it's real.
Do you remember earlier in the podcast when I asked you what you wanted to be when you died?
Necropants? No, I don't want to be necropants.
That'd be
pretty cool.
Yeah.
It'd be cool. It's not for me, but it would be cool. I'd respect anyone who was like, for sure.
How disappointed would your mother be?
Oh, pretty disappointed, probably.
He's pants now.
You can literally look up pictures of them. They look so creepy. Do it.
And show notes.
Oh.
Okay, well, I think that's probably a good place to wrap it.
All
man,
right.
thanks again.
No problem.
Why do I never prepare? There was something. Got to introduce that song.
Which song?
I don't know. Felt like I had one yesterday at some point. I don't know, man. Give me an Amon Amarth song. Play it out.
Amon Amarth song.
Something about... Do they have anything about necropants?
No.
How about...
Not about necropants.
Groupthink. All right, first one to get an appropriate song wins. They're the new host of the podcast.
Trying to just look up like a good song that I really love right now. They're all good. I mean, really, you could just pick
Are you still
any.
very into them?
Yeah, they're my favorite band.
Yeah.
Another great band for anyone who's interested is actually Wardruna. They're a Norwegian group, and they play pagan folk music. So it's all like traditional sounds, traditional music, and they sing their lyrics in like Norwegian
Give me one of
and
these.
Old Norse. It's really beautiful.
I like the sound of that.
Ooh, I'm gonna go with. doesn't sound like super heavy. It's like
No,
a real
perfect.
slow build, very somber, very traditional. So I'm not sure how well it's gonna work as like a podcast playout, but it's still really beautiful. I think Rune Liod is pretty good because that's they take lines from the Norwegian rune poem. That's literally what the song kind of translates to. So it's pretty cool.
Perfect. That's it. Thanks, Brian.
All right.